This is truly a celebration of one of the great success stories in the history of American public education. We hope you enjoy it.
Welcome to John Handley High School. We begin in this very special place, the front portico, with its majestic columns and the steps of the esplanade.
We felt this to be the perfect spot to begin our story of a legacy of excellence because of its symbolic significance.
For 100 years, members of the community have looked to the west and found in that skyline the iconic image of the cupola, the columns, the steps, and thought about all it represents.
A commitment to public education, excellence in teaching and learning, character through sportsmanship.
And the nurture and development of our most valuable resource, our students.
For our students, this is the place, the very spot where they cross the threshold into their journey along life's way.
As they pass between those columns, they see our community.
The Shenandoah Valley, the Blue Ridge Mountains.
And truly begin to look towards the future with hope,
inspiration, potential to be fulfilled, and the realization of dreams.
This program is not intended to be a comprehensive history, but rather a story crafted by thousands of individuals in a place where people make a difference in the lives of others. It is through their eyes we celebrate the past, the present, and the promise of the next 100 years.
This place we call John Handley High School is a place where teaching and learning happen every day, where character is nurtured and developed, where promises are kept between the generations, and where the achievement of excellence and a heritage of commitment to these ideals are the true legacy of our community.
John Handley, spelled H-A-N-L-Y by his family until he came to America, was born January 27, 1835 in Enniscorthy, County Wexford, Ireland. Although he never lived in Winchester, Judge Handley's love of the town and its people developed through friends and acquaintances living in the town. Upon his death, Judge Handley bequeathed $250,000 to Winchester to be invested by its leaders. This money was to be used to build schools for the education of the poor. The true value of John Handley's gifts can best be seen in the faces of the students who stand about his monument in the spring of each school year. They are a testament to the fact that one person can make a difference. John Handley had a vision, but more importantly, he acted upon that vision. The lesson for us now and in the future is that the people who make a difference in our lives are not the ones with the most credentials, the most money, or the most awards. They are the ones that care for others and act upon that sentiment. History, tradition, pride, accomplishment. These things are only realized by the fulfillment of our promise, our contributions, and our influence in the world. We offer gratitude and recognition to John Handley for providing the spark that focused the community. But for those of us fortunate enough to work and learn in this special place, we must continually remind ourselves that the worth of our actions is solely dependent upon our ability and willingness to turn opportunity into accomplishments. This is the foundation of our success and the true meaning of Handley pride.
That term, I'm talking about the term itself, Handley pride, started with a group of cheerleaders. And it's carried over, and I hope it never goes away because it's meaningful.
I love that Handley is such a beautiful school that really relies on Handley pride and the students coming together.
And this school means a lot to me because I'm the 4th generation for my family to have gone here.
And my favorite part about Handley is probably the atmosphere.
Favorite memory is honestly just being all together with like friends. They're people that really make you who you are, and when you go out into the world, like these are going to be the memories that build you as a person and give you your head start.
Handley pride. It's crazy. And yeah, I just love Handley because it's a beautiful school and it's like a flex to come here. So like,
I know it is a flex to come here. It's a flex. Yeah. Like we go to Handley, and big and proud to say that, no cap.
Something that I've always really admired and been grateful for at Handley is that there is a big emphasis on inclusivity and making sure that everyone is seen, heard, and taken care of.
I made a lot of friends here quickly. It wasn't that hard to fit in. And honestly, I loved it here.
Handley pride is something that's very, very difficult to define.
The students, you can't match the students that are here.
And you almost have to be immersed in it. So it becomes a part of you. And it's just knowing that you were going to a school that was top of the line in everything.
I think the thing that stands out about Handley to me is the tremendous pride. From the time you walked into the halls of Handley High School, the school just had an aura of pride and tradition, and you were really proud to be a student here at Handley High. And of course, the teachers had so much pride in their classrooms and their curriculum.
The fundamentals associate us with every other school, but pride fractures the concord and keeps the student reputation from being slandered into uniformity.
We're all together, and that's where the pride starts coming in of it's not just me. We're still trying to come together. We're working through things. And it's you look at that building, you look at the campus, you look at the faculty, you look at the people who have come out of it, you look at the common threads uniting a community over 100 years, and you say, well, there's something I can be proud of because we're going to keep talking and keep working and working together as a community to support the education, to promote reading, to promote the arts, to promote the athletics, to become good citizens.
And Handley pride is just simply being the best you can be at whatever you do with proper behavior, etc.
During the time I worked on the renovation of John Handley High School, I was always fascinated by what motivated Judge Handley to leave his fortune to the city of Winchester and for the vision he had of how that might be used. He was not a resident of Winchester, but it's a fascinating legacy that he's left and made such an impact on the city of Winchester and such a shining example of how one could take their fortune and make it a lasting and sort of everlasting gift. What has been interesting about the renovation to it is now come full circle. During the time working on Handley, whenever I would just randomly run into a Handley graduate, their face would just light up at the thought of just the mention of the word Handley High School. It clearly, the building and the school have left a lasting impact on virtually every one of the graduates that come through that place. And I think they understood that, and so many of them have stepped up to help the rebirth of John Handley High School with the renovation. None of them individually had the fortune in today's dollars that Judge Handley had, but in their own way, each have made significant contributions as a group to do something about as significant as Judge Handley did, is to give Handley High School a new life, a new birth, and the opportunity to serve future generations of Winchester students. And I think this is a quintessential American story. It's a quintessential human story of wanting to make sure that with your life and what you have made out of it, that you contribute to something in the future to help those that come after you to have some of the benefits and joys that you had of your life and make the world a better place. I think this dream and this continuing dream is one of the things that makes Winchester such a special place, because John Handley High School is sort of the icon of the city of Winchester, and helps make that the really wonderful community that it is.
There's probably no place in America that you'll see something like this.
I think this is one of the most beautiful schools here we have in Virginia. Whenever people visit, they always think it's a college campus, like it's that nice.
I love the campus. It's really beautiful. I like our entire field and just the outside of the building. It looks gorgeous from up close and afar. A lot of people, whenever my family visits or any of my friends that aren't from here, they do think it's a college campus at first, like a small college.
See that? Oh yeah, it's beautiful. You know, actually it's a privilege to come here, I think, because I just love this school and it's so pretty. So it's like, this is the school. It's the school. It's the high school.
I love this building because it brings so many people together in our community, and it's just so loved by so many teachers and students.
You don't have to be the big stairs walking down before a football game.
Just coming in, looking at it, and looking at the unique paintings we got on the wall and stuff like that, it shows a lot about the school and how they take care of it. Especially at track meets, a lot of kids say it looks like a college, or it's a college or a private school, or even talking to college coaches, they think it's a private school.
On my way to school, there's like this perfect view of the city, and it's just so beautiful here. I'm very happy that I moved here.
Everyone always compliments our school when they arrive here. They always say it's so beautiful, so I love that too. I think our school is very beautiful and I love being here.
My favorite part about the building is definitely the glass hallway, because when you walk through it, you can just look outside and see what's going on.
I tell you, it was the greatest experience for a young guy, 15, 16-year-old, to get to go to a beautiful school like that. I mean, it was great. Out in the county, it wasn't running water. You can't believe that we could go to a palace like that, you know. And so he went there a year ahead of me, and he said, "Well, Doug, you can hardly wait to get there, I tell you, because he said it is great. It's a privilege to go there, really."
Tradition, an inherited, established, or customary pattern of thought, action, or behavior. A belief or story, or a body of beliefs or stories relating to the past that are commonly accepted as historical. The handing down of information, beliefs, and customs by word of mouth or by example from one generation to another without written instruction. A legacy of excellence is not just celebrated by the milestone of 100 years. From the very beginning, it was created in its foundations by the bequest of the judge, the focus of a community, the shared belief in the value of public education, and promises kept between generations for a brighter future.
From the beginning, education in Winchester was intended to be different. Fueled by Judge Handley's bequest, the 1920s began a new era for education in the northern Shenandoah Valley.
On September 12, 1923, Superintendent of Winchester City Schools, Mr. Hugh Duffy, opened the doors for the first school year for Handley High School. Principal Arthur Jarman and 21 faculty members greeted students as they climbed the front steps for the first time. The school would become the most photographed building in the city of Winchester for the next 100 years. More than just a commitment to progressive education, the curriculum developed for the new Handley High School was a result of the extensive census of the area population conducted by consultants from the General Education Board. The census revealed the need for a broad program of studies that would help students to find success regardless of their occupation or their future plans.
Finding the existing curriculum to be bookish and geared almost entirely for those who would further their education, the new curriculum would offer instruction in the manual arts, domestic arts, and sciences, commercial and business classes, and physical education. This was unique among high schools serving a population such as was found in the city of Winchester and the surrounding community in the early 1920s.
Money from the judge's bequest also provided for construction of a school building, albeit a segregated one, for African American students.
On November 1st, 1927, 6 teachers and 150 students entered the Douglas School for the first time.
They marched from their old school, a small 3-room building known as the Winchester Colored School or the Old Stone School.
With over 100 students, the Old Stone School was much too small. In 1924, parents petitioned the city for a new building. In September 1927, the school board laid its cornerstone.
Dozens of talented and inspiring teachers filled Douglas classrooms.
Teachers cherished students and encouraged them to try their best. Students took classes such as math, history, science, and elective courses such as home economics, industrial arts, and foreign language.
Once opened in 1927, Douglas was the only African American high school in the northern Shenandoah Valley and offered 1st through 9th grade.
By the mid-1930s, children from surrounding counties, lovingly referred to as county kids, began attending Douglas.
With homes in Clark, Shenandoah, Warren, and Frederick counties, students often traveled over 40 miles one way to get to school.
Between 1941 and 1954, the school added the 10th through 12th grades.
While the new curriculum emphasized more than academic preparation, there was never a deviation from the strong academic programs found in the Winchester High School. With a high percentage of students pursuing continuing education after high school, almost 50% of the student body at Handley pursued the academic diploma. Required classes in foreign languages, the sciences, mathematics, English, and social studies were all provided. Traditions began in the very first days and years of the school. One of the very first was the production of a senior class play. And from those early days, mostly forgotten, the faculty also presented an annual play for both the student body and the public at large. Student government was part of the early student life, but unlike other public institutions, the official name at Handley was the General Organization. All clubs and organizations and the receipts from all student events were used to defray the cost of every organization within the school. An honor system was adopted as part of the student government. An honor court composed of students, similar to those used in many colleges and universities, tried cases of honor offenses and recommended punishment to the administration. This was unique among public high schools at the time. From the very beginning, the student body had many opportunities to participate on teams, in clubs, in school and class activities and projects. The first such service organization was the Junior Red Cross, which sent gifts and holiday treats to veterans' hospitals beginning in the 1920s.
Red Cross undertook some of the things it became famous for, and that is the preparation of the knitting program they had to knit sweaters and mufflers, scarves.
Other organizations, including the rifle team, the student orchestra, and the glee club.
I was original member of the Handley Band in 1925, and Mr. Duffy, who was the superintendent of schools, and brought Mr. Batwee there, and I think about 3 or 4 in the band had prior musical experience. Batwee taught all of us how to play an instrument. We couldn't play it too well. He took it away from us and played it himself. So,
honoring both the tradition of the Winchester Public Schools and increased public demand, literary activities were developed. The Holmes Conrad Literary Society was formed to promote a love of literature. The weekly meetings consisted of book reviews, prose and poetry readings, and even singing. The Cassandrian Literary Society, a public speaking club, was formed to enhance public speaking, debate, and oral readings. They held monthly contests with other schools and brought packed houses to their annual public contests. Principal Hugh Duffy was instrumental in establishing a junior ROTC program at Handley, where male students were given military instruction and drill. Competition with area military schools such as Randolph-Macon Academy and Shenandoah Valley Academy equaled the rivalry and interests that would evolve in the future with athletic contests.
At that time, Handley also had a military battalion, which the boys could join at their own option. And if they didn't want to join the military battalion, during the time that we drilled, they went to physical education.
The Handleyan, the student yearbook, originated as one of the major activities for the senior class. The first such annual was published in 1921. Another early and less known publication was the Trailblazer. This was a student-produced literary magazine that allowed students to publish original poems and prose and even some student humor. Male athletes who earned their varsity letter formed the H Club. It was designed to promote athletics at all levels. The H was used for several years before the JH was adopted as a main logo in 1937.
As a result of Handley's generosity, a tradition began in the Winchester school system that continues to this day.
Every day on the last day of school, all of the students in all of the schools marched to Judge Handley's grave in Mount Hebron Cemetery, and each one carried a bunch of flowers, which they placed on his grave. And if you saw the streets were lined with parents, community people, everybody watching those students as they marched to the cemetery. The students got their report cards in the cemetery, and school was dismissed for the summer. In these times, they don't do that because of the traffic, and the schools are much farther apart. But there are groups from each of the schools that are bused downtown, but they still carry on their tradition.
Everybody was to show up on that march up there to Handley, and all of us had flowers, you know. And my mother, she'd cut flowers for a week ahead of time and take care of them and everything, and to make sure we had flowers when we walked up there.
Well, I'm a graduate, and my son had the same diploma as I had. And one of our really good friends was Stuart Bell, who was a member of our church and a good friend of ours, who graduated with the class of 28. And we saw Stuart's diploma, and Stuart's diploma, my diploma, and my son's diploma from Handley are all exactly the same. And then we came across that other information about the school board ordering the documents be modified. And then during this centennial celebration, several of the early diplomas became available to us. So we saw Edith Garibrandt's diploma from 1923. We have a diploma from 24 and a diploma from 25 came in. So we saw the transition from the documents that we actually received during this centennial celebration. And since 1925, 17,300 students who have graduated from the school have received the exact same diploma. So it's a diploma that links every generation from Handley High School.
One of the traditions that I was thinking of when we were doing this, when I was writing down my memories, I remember as a freshman sitting up in the balcony in the auditorium and kind of peering down onto the upperclassmen and just waiting for that time when I would be a senior and we would be able to leave first. That was always something I was looking forward to, just as much as being able to eat outside, because it was something that you earned.
You run into older people. I'm talking about people in their 80s, maybe in 90s that graduated from here in the 30s. And even a young person, I've heard it on the street. I'm a student at Handley. And you see this old person kind of smile and say, that's my school. I went there too.
It's just nothing like sitting down there, seeing the kids on the step, and it's just nothing like it. So I really wanted them, you know, to have that opportunity to graduate and walk the steps of Handley High School and be Handley graduates.
But as I've been here for a while, I've always felt, I felt a part of the long maroon line. The maroon, the gray, the maroon, the white, you know, the maroon. It's just like there was a video like the long gray line for West Point. I kind of see myself as part of an 80-plus year heritage, and, you know, my earliest teacher person was Dot Overcash, who was my mentor when I came in the door, and I remember her party. You know, it was a 52-some-year party that she had been here, and they pulled out all the stops for her, and I remember thinking, my gosh, you know, she's incredible, and she was my mentor, and that was my back connection on that. And I look back behind me in the line, all the newbies, and I go, well, there goes the long maroon line. It's back there behind me now, and I'm sort of on the front end of that.
Even Handley High School had a role to play during World War II, although not everyone knew about it.
There's a big vault in the basement that the Corcoran Art Gallery arranged with the superintendent and the Handley Board of Trustees to have treasures from the Corcoran Gallery stored in that vault for safety during the war. And the amazing thing is that nobody knew what was down there, and a lot of people didn't even know anything was down there.
Nobody really knew that it was there. They just thought it was warehouse stuff, you know. But it was really boxed up, and I think they had some brickwork in front of it and everything like that. It was pretty well sealed up.
Did you actually help load it down
Yeah,
into the
yeah. Some of the smaller pieces.
But they actually came and got you out of class.
Oh yeah.
And what did they tell you were moving?
Merchandise. Yeah.
The vault contained paintings by Degas, Rembrandt, and even the famous Gilbert Stuart portrait of George Washington. Today, the vault is a storage area for the John Handley High School Museum and Archives, but its thick bank-type door with combination lock remains. The theater at John Handley High School is named after our most famous alumni, Patsy Cline. She attended Handley as a fourth grader from 1942 to 1943 when she moved to the county. Her career prohibited her from returning to Handley as a high school student, but during her high school years, she could often be seen working at the local pharmacy and singing at local venues.
We would entertain for, say, the Lions Club or Kiwanis Club, and we did that around, and we entertained at variety shows, too, at Handley High School, several, in fact.
We used to go over every Saturday night over front row, and Patsy was there, and she was singing at Roll Payne's Restaurant. And we'd buy her beer and everything like that. She could drink more beer than any woman I ever knew. And we'd buy her beer, and she'd come back and sit at the table and talk to us and so forth. And then she'd get up and sing and so forth. But we was there every Saturday, and that was after I come back from the service, yeah.
By the mid-1960s, the civil rights movement was making changes to integrate the school systems. In Winchester, Douglas School and its students stood on the threshold of a new era.
On May 17, 1954, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that school segregation was unconstitutional. Virginia officials responded with anti-integration laws called massive resistance and closed schools across the Commonwealth.
While Virginia began initial desegregation in 1959, it took until much later for Winchester City Schools to integrate.
The nation and Winchester faced turbulent times in the 1960s and 70s. Once integrated, Winchester students attended Handley, and most county students attended James Wood High School.
After integration, many Douglas teachers moved to Handley and supported students as they navigated the many challenges of racial prejudice.
In spite of these challenges, the rich history of Douglas School and the accomplishments of its students were woven into the tapestry of John Handley High School.
The leadership and contributions of students, families, and staff of the time created a school and a school division for embracing the diversity of our students, their families, and our community is a strength that unifies us.
Ron Rice was one of the 100 Handley notables, and we did a lot of background research on Coach Rice. We talked to his son, David, who's a graduate of Handley, and we just keep coming up with stories, and people just keep telling us things. And Coach Rice had the first fully integrated varsity team at Handley. He had the 1966 Handley football team, which was the Douglas players came to Handley. They integrated the teams under Coach Rice, and that was the first fully integrated team. He built a team spirit that spread throughout the school and became the basis of Handley pride. He was my homeroom advisor my senior year, and both Handley and James Wood were undefeated. Russ Potts was sports editor for the Winchester Star. And he was doing everything Russ Potts could do to promote the game, the big game. It was going to be the biggest game in the history of Handley High School. I came into the homeroom at the end of school, picking up my gear, and Coach Rice was there talking to one of the other assistant coaches. And I heard him say, well, take the team out, warm them up, do the calisthenics, run drills. He said, I'm not coming out because I have a 9th grader who's one of my students in math, and he's having some problems, and I'll be out when I finish with him. And I was there thinking, he's the head coach, and he's not going out because he's staying in to help a 9th grader with his math. And that's when I realized that the teachers at Handley were more interested in the success of the students, not just athletic things, but to be the successful students to come out. You just look at Handley teachers, and that's what we were seeing, that's what we were experiencing, and most of us didn't realize it until much, much later in life.
And that's what I try to tell kids today. You're a very good athlete, but you can do better. It's not the big championships that win, it's all the little things that builds up to that. And if you fall a little bit short, at least you've accomplished all those other things to get to that point.
I remember a great history teacher by the name of Miller Bouchon, who had taught at West Point and Annapolis. And he was just a tremendous role model. And he taught me the love of history and government. And of course, another terrific teacher was an English teacher by the name of Edith Gerbrandt. And Ms. Gerbrandt had really tough standards, and I mean, she ran a tight ship.
I've just met like a lot of good people and a lot of teachers that have really like influenced my experiences here and like who I want to be in the future.
I do believe that the school has definitely affected my performance. As I've just said, you know, having Mr. Keller's class.
I feel like the school overall, I feel like there's a lot of help and support that you can get from teachers.
Our best performances come when everyone's together and we make memories together.
A special memory that I have at John Handley High School is just our prep rallies where we're all together, we're all happy, we're all screaming. I was able to get a head start in my career and go to the college of my dreams.
I also really appreciate that all the staff members are loving and caring, and I think they make really great bonds with all the students.
It's just really sweet, really great people, really great teachers here.
As the older I get, and I realize what a really spectacular campus that is, it's just not like any other school. And the architecture and the grounds, the landscaping is just very, very special. And my family has a lot of history. My mother graduated from Handley, and my uncle, who was Wilbur Riley, was president of the first class at Handley in 1924. My two kids graduated there. So, you know, long history. We have a very, you know, strong connection there.
We were having a meeting here at Douglas at the school board office, and Tommy Dixon and Reed Prosser were here with me. We were talking after the meeting, and I said, what's the common thread? What's the common thread for these notables? Yeah, I'm looking for it. And I believe it was Reed. He said, every one of these people has been exposed to excellence. And it was the excellence of a teacher, excellence of a program, and they were all exposed to some level of excellence as they came through their careers.
Do you remember the smokestack that stood here for many years before you had to knock it down? And on top of that smokestack, I don't know, you probably can't see it, but there's a 1942 right at the top. I held a bucket of paint, but I can't remember who actually painted it, and I'd rather not mention names because they may kick us out of high school. So that was a great experience. Also,
now, do you remember when you did that? Was that at the dark of night? Or?
It was at night.
Yeah.
And it was very scary because I could just feel one of those rungs coming out. And if that had happened, you wouldn't be talking to me today. It would have been a pretty bad fall.
I was editor of the yearbook. Here it is, 1964 Handley. There we go, here I am. Right here, I had a little buzz cut, had these cool glasses. We thought, we're going to do something really special. You know, we got to do something that nobody else has done for a long time. And so we came up with this idea that we would do an aerial photograph of the school. We had a professional photographer that worked with the yearbook, that worked with us. And so we went to him and said, hey, we got this great idea to take this aerial photograph. Would you be willing to do that? And he said, no, I don't go up in airplanes. No way. I said, okay, I'll do it. Fine. You know, buck stops here. I'll take the photo. He's going to set up the settings. You know, how hard can that be? He said, you're not going to be able to get a good shot out of this window. So I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take the door off. Come this far, you can't turn back. Okay, sure, take the door off. We did some circles around the school, and, you know, it's loud, it's windy, and I'm, you know, hanging on to the camera for dear life and hope for the best because, you know, we had to wait before we could really see the photo. And anyway, it turned out pretty well. Here it is. This is the aerial photograph of the school. And you can see this part of the plane here, over here, that's the from the wing. And, you know, I think it turned out pretty well. It shows, this was, you know, I guess it was 1963 or 64. No, you know, no stands built in here. And over here where the parking lot was just a field. It was really a playground when I was at Handley for the first few years. It shows what was going on around, so it's pretty interesting to see that. So anyway, it worked out.
Finest place we know. must learn, and we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good. It well may be that we will never meet again in this lifetime, so let me say before we part, so much of me is made of what I learned from you. You'll be with me like a handprint on my heart. And now whatever way our stories end, I know you have rewritten mine by being my friend. Like a ship blown from its mooring by a wind off the sea, like a seed dropped by a skybird in a distant wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good. And just to clear the air, I ask forgiveness for the things I've done you blame me for. But then I guess we know there's blame to share, and none of it seems to matter anymore. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream